and we can, here we go. Thank you. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, wherever in the world you may be joining us from today. My name is Francesco Del Carpio, and I am the CFAL York Operations Coordinator. I would like to officially open the 5th session of the Climate Change and Global Occupational Health and Safety Speaker Series, presented in partnership with the Restore Lab at the University of Toronto, the Dadeley Institute for Global Health Research, and the Global Labor Research Center, with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge and recognize that many Indigenous nations have longstanding relationships with the territory upon which our campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. The area is known as Tkaronto and has been caretaken by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat. It is now home to many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis communities. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and that the territory is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. As this is an online event, our participants may be joining from various locations, so I strongly encourage you to learn about the traditional land upon which you are located. With this, I welcome our moderator, our speaker, and our participants from around the world. Welcome to our webinar. Without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce our moderator, Dr. Betin Nawroozy-Kia. Dr. Betin Nawroozy-Kia is an assistant professor in the Department of Occupational Therapy and Occupational Science, where he also holds the inaugural Emily Geldsaler Grant Early Career Professorship in Workplace Mental Health. Through an occupational lens, his research program is a systematic study of occupations in the areas of work disability prevention, return to work, and disability management. This approach is designed to produce results directly applicable to identify and assess risk and to develop interventions for preventing or improving high-risk behaviors in the workplace. Dr. Nawroozy-Kia's work is motivated by efforts in the field of work disability prevention that extends beyond the efforts to prevent or cure diseases from a purely physical perspective towards more holistic approaches. The major tenets of his work use a biopsychosocial perspective to understand work disability and extend towards incorporating personal characteristics, example, the psychosocial and environmental, example, healthcare system, workplace workers' compensation system factors in improving health outcomes. Dr. Nawroozy-Kia is also the founder of Infinity Health Consulting Group and OT Services North. Dr. Nawroozy-Kia, thank you very much for moderating today's session. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Francesco, for that kind introduction. Welcome, everyone. Delighted to be here with you today from Toronto. And today we have the 5th installment of our speaker series, and it is with great pleasure that I introduce Dr. Byomkesh Talukder. Forgive me if I've mispronounced your name, who's a research fellow, planetary health, Dadeley Institute for Global Health Research at York University in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Dr. Talukder's presentation will be on climate change related occupational health impacts on farmers and resulting consequences. So please allow me the opportunity to give you a little bit more of an introduction for Dr. Talukder. He's the inaugural Planetary Health Fellow at the Dadeley Institute for Global Health Research at York University here in Toronto, Ontario, where he works at the intersection of health, sustainable development, climate change, food and agriculture. He will be working with faculties of health and environmental studies to develop health indicators associated with ecological footprint. Dr. Talukder will also be working on modeling the health impacts of climate change related to extreme weather events. His past research applies a complexity science approach to designing sustainability assessment models of food and agriculture systems in Bangladesh. Dr. Talukder also has over 15 years of interdisciplinary field and training experience, including the supervision of over 2,000 emerging leaders in sustainable development programs and policy design in Bangladesh. Since 2016, he has been a Mitacs postdoctoral fellow at Parmalat, Canada, and the Desolate Faculty of Management at McGill University in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So it's with great pleasure that we get to your talk. If you allow me just a moment to go over a couple of housekeeping items, Dr. Talukder, just to orient our participants to the structure of the speaker series. So Dr. Talukder will provide his talk that we're all looking forward to, and then we'll have an opportunity for you to ask any questions. I invite you to put your questions into the Q&A chat box that's available in our session today, and at the end of the talk, we'll address your questions and have Dr. Talukder answer them. So without further ado, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for being here and providing your excellent talk today.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Vedin, for your introduction. I am going to share my screen first. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I hope that everybody can see it. Well, so I think I can start, right? So
yes, absolutely.
Thank you. So at the outset of my presentation, I would like to thank Professor Ali Asghari and also the CIFOL for inviting me to give this talk. Today, I'm going to talk on climate change health-related, climate change-related occupational health impact on farmers and resulting consequences. Before going to my main presentation, let me give you a background of this presentation of the research work. This presentation actually based on my sustainability modeling of food and agricultural system in coastal Bangladesh, as well as also based on my research work on system thinking approach in planetary health issues. Now, as a background, I would like to say that in the 6th IPCC report, it is actually from the 6th IPCC report, it is clear that the climate change is a threat to human well-being and the health of the planet. There is no doubt about it. This is because the way we are actually releasing carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. As a result of that, the temperature is keep going. Even if we take any drastic measures, the way carbon dioxide is increasing, that will actually increase our temperature. That means our temperature is not going to be reduced very soon in our acceptable range. So it is always going to be at 1.5 degrees Celsius or more than that. So our world is going to face increasing temperature with coming decades. As the temperature is increasing, the world is going to face a lot of climatic events that we can actually categorize as slow onset events and extreme events. Now, under these slow onset events, there will be sea level rise, salinization, then increasing temperatures, land and forest degradation, loss of biodiversity, glacier retreat, and ocean acidification. As part of extreme weather events, the world will face a lot of storm surge, tropical cyclone, drought, and heat waves. And all these slow and extreme weather events have impacts on our economic system, as well as also our non-economic systems. Now, just for an example, whether sea level is rising or not, look at this NASA's map of 2021. It is actually showing all around the world, the sea level is rising. Not only the sea level is rising, then the tropical cyclone also growing day by day. The intensity and the also and the destruction of the tropical cyclone the world is facing day by day is enormous. So world is going to face a lot of tropical cyclone in coming decades. Not only that, the desertification and drought is taking place in many parts of the world. This is the map actually showing that that in tropical and also in many subtropical countries and also the arid region, the countries will face a lot of drought events. While we saw that sea level is rising, then cyclone has increased, world is facing desertification. There is also slowly happening in the mountainous areas. That is, our glaciers actually is disappearing because of the increase of temperatures. And in a study by ICMOD, the Integrated Mountain Development Organization, they said if the temperature increases by 2 degrees, the entire Himalaya glaciers will be disappeared. And as a result of that, the 10 major rivers systems in Asia, there will be a water shortage, and that will actually bring a lot of ecological and environmental and socio-ecological issues. Not only that, the world is going to face a lot of heat waves with increasing temperatures. In fact, the heat waves became the norms of the world. And if you look at this map, you can see the tropical and subtropical countries is going to face a lot of heat waves in coming decades. And with heat waves, the world is also facing a lot of forest fire. If you look at this global fire map, you can actually locate the forest fire increasing in tropical and subtropical areas. And as a result of that, they will have a serious impact on our agriculture systems or our socio-ecological system and other things. And also the world is facing a lot of slow onset event. Before I just show what is happening slowly, that slow onset event, and this is actually rapid onset event. That means that world is facing a lot of extreme floods in all around the world. Now, all those extreme and slow onset events, they actually have occupational health impacts on farmers. That actually I will now present that what sorts of health impacts they are going to face. But before that, I think that presenting some information related to the farmers would be really interesting for the audience. And the agriculture sectors employ an estimated 1.3 billion workers worldwide. That is half of the world labor force. So it's actually amazing to think that half of the world force actually somehow working in agriculture sectors. And among those workforce, about 80 to 90 agriculture worker works under the open sky, as per ILO report in 2023. And in terms of facilities, injuries and work-related ill health, it is one of the three most hazardous sectors of activity. That means agriculture. So you can see from these statistics that how important the agriculture is for the world. And in agriculture workforce, most of the farmers actually is smallholder farmers. Now, the definition of smallholder farmers is the farmers who have a farms of less than 2 hectares. And these smallholder farmers playing a major role to provide nutritious and healthy food to millions of people and contribute of people well-being and their communities as also the national economy. Now, why I'm actually giving this definition? Because my presentation actually based on the climate change impact on smallholder farmers. So that we actually already published, and this, the presentation, just let me give you one more information, actually based on our research experience or in Bangladesh, as well as also in Malawi, more than 20 years. Now, if you look at this map, it is a very interesting map. It is actually showing the global distribution of farmers, the smallholder farmers, the small farmers, medium farmers, and large farmers. And if you look at this tropical and subtropical zone, you can understand most of the smallholder farmers who are sometimes marginalized farmers or holding less than 2 hectares of land, they are actually living in tropical and subtropical countries. It is really interesting. But tropical and subtropical countries is going to face the direct impact of increase of temperature. The annual temperature is already there, 31 to 34 degrees Celsius, but it is actually growing with increasing of CO2 in our atmospheres. That means the smallholder farmers, they are going to face a lot of health-related issues going to increasing temperature. But to understand what sorts of occupational health impacts they are going to face, it is really interesting it would be interesting to know that what activities farmers are doing in the agriculture field. In fact, farmers are doing various type of activities. They are involved in soil preparation, then showing the seeds, and then adding the fertilizer or manure to the soil, or managing the weeds, or also the pest, and then also involved in irrigation, and also involved in harvesting and storing crops. So you can see that farmers are doing various kind of activities in their agriculture fields, and they can be exposed by climate change related impacts in different activities. They can be exposed while they are preparing the soil, or showing the seeds, or doing irrigation, or harvesting the crops, or storing the crops. But those activities actually varies from crops to crops. For example, in rice, the farmers are involved in showing irrigation, milling, growing, harvesting, storage, and again field preparation. And in another example can be the onion farmers. They are actually involved in losing the soil, cutting large plants, showing the seeds, taking onion out, then harvesting, and also the storing. So we can say that in agricultural activities, farmers in fact are related in different different kind of activities that we can actually say that this occupation. Now, before going that what sorts of occupational health impacts the farmers will face because of the impact of climate change, I think it is really important to understand how do we define occupational health. So as per the definition of WHO and ILO, the occupational health can be defined as the promotion and maintenance of the highest degree of physical, mental, and social well-being of the workers in all occupation, and also the prevention amongst workers of departures from health caused by their working conditions. So I think that this definition is really a good understanding that what is occupational health for all occupations. Now, I will show you that how the farmer's health is going to be impacted by impacted by the increase of due to the climate change while the farmers are doing different activities in their fields. So to show that how climate change will have impact on farmers' occupational health, we actually divided these in 4 categories. That how farmers are going to face communicable disease while they are working or doing agricultural activities, and then also the non-communicable disease, and also the mental health impacts, and also the other health impacts. Now, in our research and also the field observation in Bangladesh and in Malawi, we have observed that the farmers directly or indirectly, because of the impact of slow onset event and also extreme weather events is going to face various kind of communicable disease. For example, diarrhea, cholera, dysentery, they are very much related with the flood events. Also the malaria, they are also related with flood events and also the sea level rise. And then also rashes, itching, ocular disease, and also the typhoid. Now, to understand that what sorts of health impacts farmers actually face after a flood event, we did a survey in Bangladesh, and what we found that among 100 respondents of the farmer's family, they said that after and also during the flood, they have faced diarrhea, cholera, dysentery, itching, malaria, dengue, typhoid, and also the gas problem. So this questionnaire survey reflects that also some of the findings in the literature review that farmers are going to face various kind of non-communicable disease while they are doing farming activities, because they will be exposed by extreme weather events as well the rapid onset events as well as also slow onset events. Now, and why I am saying that the farmers will be exposed of these rapid and slow onset events, especially in the farmers, the smallholder farmers who are actually living in tropical and subtropical countries, because those areas is going to face numerous meteorological, hydrological, and climatic phenomena. And just look at this map. It actually indicates that the numbers of meteorological, hydrological, and climatic logical phenomena that has taken place in tropical and also the subtropical country. So now, if we can remember that where those smallholder farmers are living and where the climate extreme weather events are taking place, we can actually somehow relate that the people, also the farmers who are actually living close to their field and also working in an open environment and trying to protect their crops in any kind of disaster or hazard, they will be the victims of different non-communicable disease that is actually related with meteorological, hydrological, and also the climatological phenomena. Not only that, what we also have observed that the tropical and subtropical, zones is also the area of the emerging infectious disease. Now, climate change through its slow onset event and extreme weather events will create a favorable disease ecology for the zoonotic diseases. But as per the World Health Organization, this tropical and subtropical zone is the place that where the future zoonotic disease will take place. So it makes sense that in futures, the farmers, again, who are working in field, who are working in their with animal husbandry or poultry, or doing the agriculture activities, going to the field and near to the forest, they will be exposed by various zoonotic disease, and climate change will actually increase the probability of being infected by zoonotic disease in tropical and subtropical countries. So farmers, they obviously will go to the field because it is their economic activities, and also their livelihood depends on them. Not only their livelihood, also their whole family depends on them. So they don't have any other option without going field and to protect their crops and also growing crops throughout the seasons, because it's a cyclic process that they do. While the farmers will be exposed to various communicable disease, they will be also exposed to non-communicable disease too. So when they will work under excessive heat, or they will face the heat waves, as well as also storms and sand, dust, and also others, environmental, impacts due to climate change. They will be exposed, like their health will be exposed for cardiovascular disease, cancer, respiratory issues, other respiratory issues, malnutrition, as also the kidney disease. In a study in India and Bangladesh, it has been mentioned that the kidney disease actually is high among farmers. The reason behind that, they are working under the sun and in the heat, and their kidney were functioning very rapidly, since they're drinking a lot of water and sweating and again drinking. So there is kidneys working very rapidly, and it is always functional. As a result of that, they are also facing a lot of kidney-related issues in those countries. And now, since Canada is facing this forest fire, I thought it would be really interesting to show that what sorts of health impacts forest fire can bring. And just think, the farmers, they will work in the field and they will try to protect their crops and also the agriculture from the forest fire. And it is true all around the world. I think it is also true for the Canadian farmers. And they will be actually exposed for different health, various health issues related to forest fire, such as headache, irritated eyes and sinus problem, irritated throat, coughing, then fatigue, and asthma attack, and chest pain, and difficult to breathing. And while I was also thinking that the forest fire has an impact on farmers' health, then I found, recently I found a study done by Columbia Climate School, and they said in Amazon region, the indigenous people are far more likely to die from forest fire smoke. So then my assumption actually is somehow supported by this study conducted by Columbia Climate Schools, since it actually makes sense that whether there is smoke or not, whether there is forest or not, farmers will go to protect his land or also the crops somehow. So there is a issue of communicable and non-communicable disease related to the increase of climate change impacts through extreme weather events, that is called rapid onset events, and also slow onset events. Then the farmers' mental health is also related with somehow climate change, because of crop failures and frequent cyclone and unfavorable condition of growing crops. Farmers is facing a lot of stress, as well as also the mental issues, because they are always in a kind of anxiety whether they can protect their crops from the hazard or any kind of climate change impacts or climate change related events, or will their land will be favorable to grow more crops. But the agricultural lands not only facing the impact of extreme and slow onset events, but they are also subject to various pest attacks. So climate change is creating a favorable condition for the pest, and the world is observing various pest attacks in different parts of the world. Not only that, the farmers' mental health will also be deteriorate because of the deterioration of some social determinants that related with farmers' occupational health. The climate change will have impact on the economic systems, also access to resources of the farmers, and it will create a kind of rural isolation, and then it will bring a change in family dynamics, and so there will be issue of lack access to policy and support systems, and also the hamper of the social network. So all those social determinants will also have an impact on their mental issues. Now, I will present the other health issues that we thought they are not under the communicable, non-communicable mental health, but they are also very important. That is actually that relate with the frequent lightning that is right now is happening in any parts of the world. Those who are actually from Bangladesh or the subcontinent, they can easily link that the farmers, they are the first victims of the lightning because they are working in the open field. And here is 2 examples where in Bangladesh, 9 farmers were killed where they were working on the wetland because they went to work in the field and they wanted to protect their crops or doing some kind of agricultural activities. And in another, example or study in India, it is said that 96% lightning deaths are in rural India, and most of the farmers actually are living in rural India, and 77% of them are farmers who are actually dying because of these lightning events. And lightning events actually has increased a lot because of the impact of climate change. In a study in Nature Communication, they said that the lightning actually has led to an increase in frequency. The climate change has led to an increase in the frequency of lightning strike around the world. And you can see that this is also going to be a serious problem, especially for the tropical and subtropical countries, smallholder farmers who have lack of education, lack of awareness, and lack of protection system. As I said before, that farmers, the agricultural land is going to face a lot of pest attacks. Here is an example that that will actually give you a kind of idea that what kind of pest attack the farmers can face in futures. Just think about the locust outbreak in 2021 in Africa, and then it actually migrated towards to India. And while it was actually migrating, it's actually destroyed all the crossland, in many countries. Now, farmers, they actually work under this situation, in this pest attack. So farmers actually often attacked by this pest and also the other pest also. That will actually, the number of the pest attack will increase in future because of the favorable condition, also the changing of the pest ecology because of climate change through extreme and also slow onset events. Now, I showed that what type of health, occupational health farmers will face and actually facing right now because of the climate change impacts. Now, what would be the consequences of the impact of occupational health because due to climate change impacts? And so there will be a lot of consequences because of this. In a recent report by IPCC, it has been said that global warming will lead to increased heat stress in workplace, resulting in productivity loss equivalent to 8 million jobs. The impact will be worst in the poorest countries. Now, in the poorest countries, most of the the smallholder farmers, they are living. So we can say that their productivity will also go down. But the smallholder farmers, they are the producer of the 1/3 of the world food. So if their health actually deteriorated and they spend a lot of time to manage their health because of the impact of the climate change, so it makes sense, or I think we can say that the agricultural production will go down. As a result of that, there will be a deficiency of calorie intake as well as also the nutrition intake that is actually produced by the smallholder farmers. So we need a healthy workforce or healthy farmers to work in our field. So if their health actually deteriorated, then how they can actually work in their field and can produce food for the one third of the world food. So when their health will deteriorate, it is my assumption that the global malnutrition, the poverty index will going to face a lot of crises in different tropical and subtropical countries, as well as also the people is going to face a lot of health-related issues and also the poor living condition, because the agricultures, it is actually ensure the economic activities of the farmers, and one of the means to come out from the poverty cycle, as well as also ensure education, health, and living standard for themselves, as well as also for their family members. Once their productivity will go down, it will also have an impact on their poverty issues, as well as also their livelihood issues and living standard. Not only that, since food and agriculture is related all the 17 sustainability development goals, so we can say that because of the impact of the climate change on farmers' health, the food-related sustainable development goals is going to be also hampered, especially no poverty. That in SDGs it is said that almost 80% of the people live in the rural areas. Those people is going to face poverty, again and again, as well as also the food security and also the good health and well-being. Those two SDG goals is going to be seriously impacted because of the climate-related occupational health impacts. Not only that, as I said before, rural economics is also going to be impacted, as well as also productivity-related economic activity is going to be related. As a result of that, the farmers will be in a poverty trap where their per capita will go down, their living standard will go down, as well as also their investment in physical and also the other resources that will also go down. That means that will actually create, that will also have an impact on productivity. That means there will be low productivity. So climate change, as well as also climate change related direct or indirect health impact will have a serious issues on the poverty cycle. Not only that, this will be also issue of climate justice, because at present, in the present situations, the climate justice is a huge issue, and most of the people in tropical and subtropical countries, they are facing it. So once the climate change temperature keep increasing, and the farmers is going to face various occupational health issues, and it is my understanding that their climate justice is also be cushioned. Not only that, the world leaders and decision makers, they are taking various measures such as nature-based solutions or regenerative agriculture, climate smart agriculture, or circular agricultures as a part of adaptation strategies or as a part of transforming our food and agriculture systems to ensure food for our future generation, as well as also make food available. But since the farmers' health will be in question, so I think that our initiative towards regenerative agricultures, climate smart agriculture, and circular agriculture will be hampered. And not only that, farmers' well-beings, that is also going to be hampered in the long run. And one major thing can happen once the farmers' productivity will go down and there will be no economic, there will be an issue of health, and also our economic activity will be hampered. So there can be also a mass migrations, and mass migration can be related with the farmers' health. Now, And also, as a result of that, the mass migration, this occupational health impacts of the climate change in farmers, we can say that all around the world, the healthcare access that can be also hampered. In most of the developing countries, especially in tropical and subtropical countries, their healthcare access index is already very low. So this impact on farmers, the climate change impacts on farmers' health will also bring this healthcare access related index lower in tropical and subtropical countries. And it is my understanding or our understanding that the way the climate, the temperature is increasing and we're producing CO2. The farmers occupational health is not actually going down. It will keep going up with increasing temperatures. The farmers will face more and more communicable disease, non-communicable disease, mental health issues, and also other occupational health issues. And also, the alarming side is that the scientists are now saying that while many Earth system is actually towards tipping points. For an example, the monsoon rain is actually now shifting. Now, monsoon rain is one of the primary factors of agricultural activities in tropical and subtropical countries, especially in the subcontinent. Now, if it actually keeps changing or is actually start to behave abnormally, then farmers' agricultural activities is going to be hampered, as well as also its related different health issues is going to be also a problem for the farmers and other things. Not only the monsoon, but also I think melting glaciers and shifting also the biome will be also a big problem for farmers' agriculture activities, for farming without any tension, as well as also they will bring a lot of health issues for the farmers. Now, in conclusion, we have some recommendation to manage climate change related occupational health for the farmers. First of all, we think that awareness campaigning about the health impact of climate change directed at smallholders farmers should be developed. In why I'm saying giving emphasis to the smallholder farmers, because the smallholder farmers living in a very vulnerable situations and their socioeconomic or human development index is also low. Perhaps the developed country, they can do a lot of things and they can adopt, they can design intervention and implement them to protect their farmers. But in tropical and subtropical countries where most of the vulnerable farmers are living, the awareness is not there yet. So I think that what sorts of health problem they can face with the increase of climate change, that we have to make them aware. That is really important. Then health service, especially to the health impact of climate change and targeted for delivery to smallholder farmers, should be developed. Nowadays, there is no specific health service for the farmers. It is for all people. Obviously, farmers is the part of the country's population. But then I think they need a special consideration for ensuring food supply and enough food for everybody's in a country. And also, I think since this is a very new research area, so I think that we need a lot of research for a good understanding of health impact, for designing better health policies for the smallholder farmers, and also for the modeling of also the health impacts for forecasting, also the understanding, developing the scenario, as well as also I think that we need a lot of research on this topic to understand the non-linear, and multi-sectoral relation, also the factors. That is actually very complex, but we need to do a lot of research to develop, to understand these non-linear relations very well, as well as also develop complete models and validate the models and integrated that model into our public health interventions or in our adaptation strategies in futures to protect the health of the farmers. So thank you very much for your listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Talukder, for this really interesting conversation. I think it's very thought-provoking, and you raised some very pertinent and salient issues, particularly here in Canada, as we deal with these wildfires in this part of the country. It becomes very much an issue that hits very close to home. So thank you for your talk. I'm wondering if we can take a little bit of time, and we have you finished beautifully within the time that is allotted for this. So I'm wondering if we can go to the Q&A, and I do see one question put in the chat. So I will read the question for you and then give you an opportunity to provide a response. It's from Joshua Pound, and Joshua is saying, what is the contribution to world food stores from small-scale farmers? Will the inevitable climate change effects on small-scale farmers significantly impact world food supply?
Yes, I think that is the 1/3, the food is coming from the world, 1/3 food is coming from the smallholder farmers. And also the smallholder farmers producing, I think, I think more than half of the world population food, because most of the people actually living that, if you look at the India and also the African countries are living there. And obviously, I think this climate change is going to impact smallholder farmers significantly in various ways, because the climate change is going to change the cropping cropping ecology. I mean, this cropping environment, it is going to bring a lot of impacts in their soil, in the weathers, in the seasons, and that is going to impact agriculture for production in various ways. That is one thing. That's why, so the farmers actually dealing with two things simultaneously, while they are actually dealing that whether they can do agriculture or not to produce crops, as well as they are also dealing with their health, because they are also the victim of the impact of the climate change. So I think that will have a dual impact on the overall agricultural productivity and also the crop yield, and that is going to impact overall global food supply. There is no doubt.
Okay, thank you very much for that response, and that makes sense to me too. I mean, some of the statistics you were talking about, how much of the world's employment is from these small-scale farmers, is eye-opening to someone who also is in this field of occupational health and safety.
Yeah.
We do have another question for you from Sanaz, and they are saying, dear Dr. Byomkesh, what was Canada's commitment and action to climate change? What extent have the commitments been implemented? Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I think that Canada has a lot of commitments, but I cannot say that what commitments. I know few of them. I think they have committed to contribute in damage and loss fund, in that way. And also, I know through the global challenge, they are also contributing in many parts of the world. And through IDRC, they are also contributing in climate change adaptation and green technology, food systems transformation. And then also, I'm not sure that what is Canadians' commitment to reduce carbon emission as part of their national adaptation strategy. But Canada has taken a lot of initiatives. I mean, it is actually now reforming a lot of sectors to bring, visible changes in their sectoral approach to reduce CO2. I think that is a really good sign for Canada, and also investing green energies. And what extent implemented? Yeah, that is actually debatable, because once Canada is one of the largest emitter of CO2, then also Canada is taking a lot of initiative. So I can give you the right, answer.
Yeah, you're probably also trying to be politically correct too there. So good point. And thanks a lot for that. We do have one more question in, and it says, it's from Faime. It's saying, thanks for your interesting lecture. Is there any international database that help us achieve up-to-date information on the effect of climate change in each country?
I think that you can see that the vulnerability index, it is actually managed by Notre Dame University. Every year they are actually publishing this vulnerability index, and in fact we are also going to produce climate change and health impact index very soon. So you will get some information from there too, that how different countries is going to impact it in health by climate change. And then also the planetary health countdown, that is also a kind of kind of index that is showing that how different countries is going to face climate change related impact differently. So you can actually check planetary health countdown as well as also vulnerability index, that two index, and also the adaptation gap index too. I think that is also will give you a sense that what country is doing what.
I hope that's helpful to answering your question. Okay. Any other questions? I don't see. Oh, no, I think it's just being cleared. I did want to ask you one in case there's another one. What do you think, of all the priorities you've raised, health issues, economic issues, the intersections of many, where do you think we should be focusing our efforts, as researchers in occupational health and safety, particularly in the farming side? Like, where do you think is our attention should be going to first, as there are many pressing issues and we have limited resources?
Yeah, I think that is a really good question. I think that somehow we have to work with the agriculture policymakers. There is a disconnection because we are not thinking the issue from a holistic point of view or a system point of view. So now agriculture policymaker or decision maker making decision in a silo, but they actually have to come with these occupational health expert or public health experts, that why bringing this public occupational health aspect in designing climate smart agriculture or circular agriculture or transformative agriculture is really important, because Food and Agriculture Organization, they are giving emphasis on transforming the food and agricultural system. So I think this is the right time to develop a transdisciplinary approach to ensure food security, ensure food productivity, simultaneously ensure the health of the farmers. So that not only good for the farmers community, I think that is also good for achieving SDGs. So if we can make sure the politicians or the decision maker that why investing in farmers' health will ensure some of the SDGs like eradicating poverty, or ensuring hunger, and also health and well-being, those things. So I think those things are disconnected right now. So I think we have occupational health expert, you can actually somehow integrate your ideas with their ideas and then develop a joint interventions to address this problem.
Yeah, I think that's a great point you raised. That's I kind of asked that question from the perspective of researchers. I do have one follow-up. We just have a little bit more time. What about for those of us that may not necessarily be in positions like you and I are in researchers, but they're interested in these topics, but they're not in research? What can they do potentially to encourage politicians, decision makers to engage in agricultural policy? What is their role, let's say, for the general public or those of us that are interested, but not necessarily in academic roles?
I think the awareness is really important. Campaigning is really important here. Because since you see that the people are not thinking about people health, then how they can think about farmers' health? But farmers' health is from a system thinking perspective, is a really crucial issue for everybody's health. So I think that like climate change campaigning, if we can bring these issues in our campaigning, in our international platform, more presentation about these things, and more, I think exposure in the media, that is also important, because these things are really, I don't see anything like this in the media. That is really a problem, because the farmers, for say, in lightning, farmers are actually, it is the farmers who are victim of lightning in Bangladesh, and nobody is actually talking that it's a farmer's health, in fact.
Yeah.
So those kind of things I think is really important. Bringing in media, getting media attentions, and campaigning, and then also, in our international negotiation, we should in COP, this should be actually brought in COP too.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's great. It's a great way for us to finish off. You've given us a lot of things to think about, and a lot for us to consider as we move forward. Thank you very much for taking the time today, Dr. Talukder, to enlighten us, to give us this very important talk on an issue that's going to be impacting us now and into the future. So thank you very much, and I'll hand it over back to Francesco.
Thank you, Dr. Professor Beatty.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I would just like to echo my thanks as well to Dr. Talukder for that great presentation, and for the audience participation. And thank you to the audience for being here. And of course, thank you as well to Dr. Bedin for moderating the session and facilitating the discussions. I would just quickly like to take the chance to share my screen and show the next session in our speaker series, which will be 2 weeks from now, Wednesday, June 21st, the same time as always, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Toronto time. The speaker for this session will be Dr. Desai Shan from the Memorial University of Newfoundland, who will be speaking on climate change and maritime occupational health and safety challenges, presenting a case study of Canadian Arctic shipping. So for those of you interested, this will be the last session in this series. So save it on your calendar, share it with anyone who might be interested. Registration is still open, so anybody can join. And with that, I will stop sharing.